Hey guys, welcome on back. This is going to be episode 2 for season 2, I would say, of my Divine Faith Astrology. So, in this series, just kind of like the first series, but I didn't really name it a series at that time. I pretty much just went through different charts and um, event charts, looked at different people's charts in regards to, transits or composite charts, which I do need to do a composite chart because I really like the composite charts. It doesn't have to be a full blown, they're in a relationship. It could just be how they are as friends. Or I've did composite charts for some of you guys when it comes to your relationship, like your own kids or your mother or father, it doesn't matter. But I really like looking at relationship charts because it's always so interesting how you think you're on the same page, then you look at the composite chart and you're just like, how are you guys on the same page? Yeah, so I do like going through those particular charts just to find different things, but also learn different things. As I've said a million and one times before, I am learning a lot doing these charts and analyzing these different things. So it's always cool for me to do this because I learn new things. Okay. But so this particular chart that I have pulled for today's reading for episode 2, we are looking at how Diddy is feeling right now. Now, it has been kind of quiet for him at the moment. And for him, that's probably not a bad thing because of all of the communication and all of the commotion and all of the chaos that's been surrounding his name, his empire, and things that he's done in the past. So for him right now, he probably welcomes that the attention is going towards other people where it gets it off of him for a second. So he probably is completely okay with that. But I wanted to pull an event chart when it comes to just where he's at right now. And this particular practice, I call it an event chart because you're just looking at it in a way of like a natal chart, but it's focused on the question in time. So exactly whenever I think of the question, that is when I need to set my time and my date and location. Location is always going to be where you are at. I know who knows where he's at this point, but you're always going to pose the question from your location where you're at. Okay, if we were looking at his natal chart, then we would put in the details when it comes to, he's from, Lord knows, he's from, what would that be, the East Coast? It doesn't matter at this particular point. Okay, so since let's just say we're just coming at this just from him. Okay, so we or I would take, in this instance, I'm going to, well, really, I think I might end up changing a little bit. No, I'll keep it to where it's at. I'll just signify him as the first house in this particular chart. I was about to say the seventh house since that I have no personal ties to Diddy, so I would probably give him the seventh house because he was considered, an other person. But in this instance, we're just going to give him the first house. Okay, so the first house is in the sign of Gemini or the Lord of Mercury. Okay, now we know Mercury is, or Hermes, however you want to say it, the Lord of Mischief. Okay, so he keeps up mischief. You kind of never really know what he is up to because because Mercury rules what is it? Moon, mind. Mercury is the intellect. So he is an intellectual. So his brain probably doesn't really turn off. So in this instance, with us signifying Diddy with the first house, right now his brain is just probably overactive. And it probably is overactive in one of those ways where you're trying to think of probably your next 10 moves. Because Mercury, to me, Mercury's game is, I'm playing checkers. I'm not playing chess. And you know how long that chess can go on if you ever played chess. I've never really played chess like that. I really do want to learn. But it can get pretty complicated. It can get pretty lengthy in terms of how long it could take. And you always have to be those extra moves ahead in a way of your opponent until, they happen to step on your toes. Now you have to figure out a different way. So he is likely looking at this in that type of perspective. Okay. Now it's interesting how the first house or the ascendant, which we are signifying Diddy on, is on the 5th degree or 5 degrees. 5 degrees, 17 degrees, and 29 degrees is tied to the sign of Leo. And all you have to do is just count the degrees by house. So air, the first house is 1, second house 2, third house 3. You go all the way around till you get to pretty much 30 or 0, and then you get the point. But the 5th degree or Leo degree, we know is the stage. It's like the main stage. It can be the concert. It also, Leo is tied to children. It's also tied to romance. It's also tied to, or Leo is also tied to fun. But Leo is also tied to gold, kings, politicians. Okay, so we could say right now he may be seeking out the help of a politician. Now, in what country vicinity that is in, we don't know. But over here with me, I don't rule out anything because there is a world of possibilities. So we don't really rule out anything over here. Okay. So I'm going to go and actually take a look at the decan of 5 degrees Gemini. Deacons are just more details, more information, the same way that I will look at the meaning of the degree. Now, I'm probably going to pull up my PDF of the meaning of the degrees because it gives it gives even more detail. So this is good with the deacons to give us detail. But I also like to read the actual definition of the degree, which gives us even more detail once it gets there. But anyway, while that loads, we'll just go back. We'll go down here. Okay. So as you can see right here, like the description says, this gives you a deeper understanding of your personality and planetary rulers. So we're going to, use that for this particular event chart. So we're going to go down to Gemini 5. That's Aries, Taurus. So Gemini right here. Okay. So all the decans are split into 3 parts. Okay, like 0 to 9, or I would say 0 to 10, like first, and then etc. etc. Okay, so right now, his ascendant or Diddy right now is sitting on the first decan of Gemini, which is already ruled by Mercury. So this is a decan where you can be a quick thinker, chatty, sociable, flexible, a bit scatterbrained, which is what I was talking about already before we even got into the decans. So because we already went over that when it pertains to the decans, because I already mentioned it before we read this, let's read the definition when it comes to Gemini 5 degrees. So I'm going to have to go back, scrolling really fast. By the way, the PDF that I am reading from is on my website under, it's something to do with astrology. I'm pretty sure his name's something with astrology. But I'm having a brain fart right now, but it'll probably come to me as I keep talking. Okay. So Gemini 5 degrees, if I can get there. Where are you? All right. Gemini 5 degrees. A good looking woman carries a book and weighing scales, and an artist juggles with balls. So it makes me think of the Two of Pentacles. The Two of Pentacles, again, like I was talking about before, that there's been a lot of commotion, etc., around his name. So with that juggling, that makes me think of the Two of Pentacles, and the Two of Pentacles is tied to that Capricorn type of energy. Capricorn is the business. So, but I wish I had the cards. But if you can think of the Two of Pentacles in your mind on that particular card, which I always like to make note of, even though he's juggling and he's doing a good job, there is almost like the anxiety look on his face, that worry look on his face, that, oh my God, what if I drop this? What if I embarrass myself? So the things that have came out when it pertains to Diddy and the lawsuits and etc., etc., okay, yeah. There's still that energy with the two of Pentacles coming through, where that is probably the tip of the iceberg, or that probably is the least embarrassing thing. Now, to us, it's very egregious. It's like, what the hell? It's very bad. But to him, with that Two of Pentacles coming through, I hate to say it. I mean, I mean, I'm not going to say I hate to say it, but I'm actually getting money laundering as I'm sitting here. But Mercury, whenever Mercury is in a bad spot, in a bad position, making not so great aspects, can definitely manifest as a liar, can definitely manifest as someone who is, running away with the bag of cash and stowing it away. It kind of reminds me of Frank Lucas. Now, I'm not sure if he has any ties to Frank Lucas, or that may have been one of those individuals that he may have looked at in a way of, oh my God, this person's so great, I want to do what you do. But that is the energy that I'm getting from him. If we're talking about the way he runs his organizations or what he has possibly going on right now. So there may be bags of money, bags of cash, kind of like making its way out of the door in somewhat of like a drug dealer type of energy, where we have to go and find a place to hide the money. And the bags, now, and that's the thing, because Mercury is mischief, the bags could have nothing in it. But that's the thing with Mercury, because Mercury is so scatterbrained, especially with his first house energy being on the first decan, keep shaking my camera, being on the first decan of Gemini, and he's so scatterbrained. This also could represent that the money could be scattered across multiple different, I heard islands, scattered across multiple different islands. Now, I hate to bring up the other character who last name starts with the E, very big, you know what I'm talking about, who's no longer with us. I really don't want to say their name because I don't feel like dealing, but this would probably be his equivalent. And, that's pretty bad. But in Diddy's instance, even though I say that Diddy and the E guy are likely one and the same person, Diddy actually may be a little bit worse. Okay? But anyway, I mean, in my just from what I'm feeling, just based off of what I kind of like peeked at when it pertains to the chart, I am getting the feeling that definitely sex T word is happening still, in my opinion. Okay. Now he may already have ties to Africa because I'm actually picking up the Congo, or there's something tied. There's a linkage when it pertains to the Congo and Diddy that may come out in the future, or this is something that is just very underground. But that is like a linkage that I'm getting as well when I brought up the sex T word. Okay, moving forward. So let's read the 5 degree of Gemini. So we have honest, shrewd, a pleasant character. This degree indicates a host of qualities and almost unlimited possibilities. Success, fame, and wealth can be achieved in such different occupations as law, science, literature, education, trade, sports, and entertainment. One is happily married and enjoys a good health. Now, Diddy being married is probably a long shot in the dark, but who knows? But again, with his ascendant, let's go back to here, with his ascendant being on this particular degree, this is what he's just feeling right now. He's coming from a place where he still feels like unstoppable. And that's what I was kind of getting at when I was just talking about my little spiel prior to. He still feels untouchable. He still feels, and this is how he feels. This may not necessarily be reality because, I may feel, upset about something that you did, but that may not be the reality because you haven't did nothing to me. You know what I'm saying? So it could be like that. Anyway, so now we read that, let's take a look at Mercury, because Mercury is the Lord of the Ascendant, which would be the Lord of Diddy. Okay. Because again, Gemini is tied to Mercury, as well as, where's the other one? Virgo. Okay. So he has Mercury in Aries. Aries, we know, is quick action. Why are you trying to put a dot right there? Oh, don't go there. Okay. Anyway, so we know Mercury is in Aries, can be that quick action, the quick thinker, but also I'm getting some disoriented type of vibes from him as well. We know also Mercury rules the hands. So even though we have this person right now who is very I mean, without a, I'm not gonna say without a doubt, energetically, for what I get from him is that he thinks that he is a gangster. Remember, I said Frank Lucas. That is him. That is where his intellectual capacity takes him to, is that I am a gangster again. But even they knew, maybe not. Even they knew that they're not really unstoppable, because at some point, it doesn't matter. They come banging at the door, it's over. But with him, because there's so many different moving parts, and there possibly is so many different islands that are involved in this enterprise or in whatever he has going on, that adds to him feeling that he is unstoppable, that he cannot be touched. Okay. Now, there was something else. Oh yeah. Oh, let's look at the degree of Mercury, and then we will talk about Mercury conjunct Chiron, because that right now is the closest aspect. Now, I'm not really supposed to take into consideration outer planets. Outer planets would be Chiron, would be Uranus, would be Neptune, the North Node. You're not really Pluto. You're not really supposed to take into account any of those planets, because they're outer planets. They kind of like came later. We're supposed to stick with the main planets: Saturn, Moon, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, etc., etc. Okay, but just for laughs and giggles, I am going to focus on the outer planets. Okay, and Chiron is an outer planet, but it's so close in proximity to his Mercury. It is conjunct, but Chiron and Mercury are also in a separating aspect, so they're moving away. So the energy is not going to be as heavy as it was maybe like a couple months ago, like, January or March, something like that. Okay. So let's go look at the degree that the Mercury is on. Again, it's in Aries. So let's take a look at the decan first. Oh, I didn't even look at the fixed star. We will look and see if there's a fixed star connected to Mercury as well. But we're going to look at the decan first. So Aries, I think it is 15 degrees. So we're going to scroll back up to the top. So the 15th degree of Aries is going to be situated on decan 2, which is a decan that is ruled by the sun. Sun, powerful figures, the ego. Remember? So it's interesting that we are going more in detail about the planets and where I see the planets at, because it just aligns with what I was already saying in the beginning before I even look at the planets. And this actually, even though I put the chart in at like 8 something, this really is the first time I'm actually looking at the chart. Okay. But with decan 2 being ruled by the sun, this is a decan where it is tied to sensuality, fluidity, restlessness, bold, confident, and a natural optimist. Okay. Now, let's go back here. Chiron is the wounded healer. I believe the story of Chiron, if I'm not mistaken, is he pretty much was the god that people were sending, I guess, others to, for him to teach. So he could have been like a Socrates or something like that, or not Apollodorus, that's not it. But a Socrates is the best one I can think of right now. But he was like that when it pertains to the gods. And I actually believe something happened with Apollo's son's mother. I can't remember the story exactly, but Apollo then ended up sending their child, to Chiron. So again, Chiron, even though if I can associate it with the tarot card, I would probably say the Hermit. Even though the Hermit is tied to Virgo, and actually I believe Chiron actually is tied to Virgo. I had to look at my chart in there. I think I have seen that. With Chiron being tied to Virgo, it 100% makes sense that the Hermit card, which is Virgo in its purest glory, would be Chiron. He always has the light on. And now that I even think about it, you kind of look at the Hermit in a little bit of a melancholy, which he is melancholy, but maybe not. It's just a matter of that, kind of like I have a job to do. My job is like to serve and help the people in some sort of way. It's not about me. But with Chiron being in a separating aspect from Diddy, from his Mercury, which is the chatterbox, and with it being on a second decan, sensuality, fluidity, restlessness, etc., etc. So let's just say this. and this is probably maybe not great to say, but this is allegedly, let's say that. In some sort of a way, to me, when I look at this Chiron separating from Mercury, it makes me think of Diddy, because it's a very masculine aspect with these two planets for some reason I'm getting, especially when we bring in the sun. And Chiron would probably be situated in that second decan as well. Using men to heal. I know it's weird because it sounds weird for me saying it, but with that Hermit card, you have that energy of someone where it's like, so in a way, Diddy is kind of like Chiron, but probably not in the best way. But the thing is, it gives me the energy of someone where I only want males. I only want male clientele. Those are the ones that I want to be in that Chiron energy with, because something about that connection, something about that linkage, in a way, he sees it as healing him. Now, he may be sexually fluid because Aries is tied to Mars, and we know Mars is also tied to Scorpio. Scorpio rules the genitals. Mars also rules the face. So I would also say that now I don't think he's got a filler, but there is this energy when it pertains to him now, especially with him being connected with that wounded healer energy, where it seems like he wants to do something with his face. Now, there's also that energy as well, because I also want to bring in Venus. And I know I'm kind of jumping around, but I want to bring in Venus because Venus is actually in kind of close proximity to Mercury. To me, it's a little bit out of bounds for me to count as a conjunction, but we'll take it because the chart says that Mercury is separating from Venus at about 9 degrees. So Mercury-Venus connection can actually bring psychic ability, and especially with it being in the 11th house. The 11th house can also have a psychic ability energy tied to it as well. So if you have like a lot of planets in the 11th house, especially if you have like Uranus in there, it's like you may be psychic, but you don't realize that you're psychic. But nonetheless, back to what I was talking about. So with that psychic ability or that energy coming through with that fluidity, this gives me very shapeshifter. So he may be going through a particular energy right now where he is wanting to shapeshift. Oh, that's what I was going to say. There's also this energy as well where, what's a skinhead? I mean, I don't know why it's making me bring it up, but skinhead. But it seems to me that the ideologies of Diddy is very, very old. It gives very, I say shape-shifting, but also with psychic ability. And I was going to say like skin in the face. If you guys have ever seen Game of Thrones, I have to keep talking about it now because I just love it. I really do now. And I didn't like it at first. But have you ever seen Game of Thrones whenever Arya was in the Game of Faces? There's, she's putting on a different face. So that is the energy that I'm getting with Diddy. He's trying to find a way to put on a different face, literally, metaphysically, however you want to say it. Okay, back to what I was saying. He may be sexually fluid, and I don't think, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, he is entitled to be sexually fluid, but it's what you do with that fluidity that can be very bad or just, I guess, be normal in their eyes. So that's the problem too that we have when it pertains to him. So let's take a look at the definition of 15 degrees Aries. Okay, 15 degrees Aries. Now remember, we're talking about the 15-degree Aries because that is the Lord of his ascendant. When I say Lord, that just means the planetary ruler of that sign. So the Lord of Capricorn is Saturn. The Lord of the Lord of Sagittarius is Jupiter, and so on and so forth. So with the number 15, we have selfish, 15 Aries, selfish, materialistic, very conceited. One is only concerned in luxury, fine clothing, and all things of pleasure. One spends lavishly for oneself, but displays utter stinginess towards other people. One is driven by self-interest and picks one's acquaintances among wealthy, I talked about it, among wealthy and influential persons. Good luck seems to smile in this degree, and with the support of powerful protectors, which I also brought up, I said politician, one achieves success in occupations involving precious stones, gold, silver, and jewelry in general. Now, my opinion is this, that this politician, whoever the hell they are, they may not be in politics right now. They could be. They may be in politics in another country, or they could be an up and coming politician. Like there's already a transfer of power going on. So this particular individual, I don't know their name. Or son of a biscuit eating French toast. Something is saying there's some type of linkage there. Jesse Jackson. There's phone call being made, possibly, or one of the Jacksons. Well, shoot, there's a lot coming up here in this particular situation. So we have a couple different beasts going on when it pertains to Diddy and this energy that we're getting from him. And I'm only saying that because there's a couple of different people coming up that have been like accused of the same thing that he has been accused of. And I'm only bringing those individuals up because it's giving me the energy of that what he has done far exceeds what they have been convicted of or accused of. I did a reading on Michael Jackson in the first season, and you are more than welcome to check that out, because it just gives a little bit of a different perspective, I would say. I'm not here to bash or any of these people, because everybody has a light and a dark side. I mean, dark can't exist without light. Doesn't mean that it's exactly equal, but it's still there, like me. It just, is this thing so long? Yeah, it just happens. Okay. And nobody is above that energy where it's like you don't have any dark. That's just not possible. Okay. Oh my God, it's thunderstorming outside. So the lights just flickered. Anyway, so let's look at fixed stars for his Mercury. I mean, there's a lot going on, so this is probably going to have to be a two-parter, because there's just so much to go on in this chart, and we could go deep, 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 because I also want to bring up the fact that his co-ruler, because when you look at these event charts, you have your ruler, which would be Mercury. Then we have your co-ruler, which would be Moon. Moon is right now at fall in Scorpio, and is making an aspect in the 12th house of prison, jail. So we're going to have to come back through here, because my spidey senses right now are saying he's paying to get out of jail. It's one of those, he's paying to stay out of jail. It is delaying the inevitable. So right now, my opinion is this, that he's going to go at some point. It may be house arrest. It may be full blown jail, but right now you can pay what you need to pay to stay out of jail. But eventually you're going to run out of money. So eventually what's going to happen? You got to go. But anyway, let's go and see if there's a fixed star on his Mercury. So yes, Alpharats, I believe that's how you say, grace, popularity, independence, honors. So, and then we'll probably take this one as well. Alderman, gravity, sternness, judgment, severe trials, poetry, drama. And even though this fixed star is considered on a fortunate degree, it goes along with what I was just talking about when I was saying that his co-ruler is making an aspect to two planets in Jupiter and Uranus, made that great conjunction. Rare, I don't think it's made that in a while. You just don't know what can happen. So that's why I was saying that it is, to me, is giving that he's going to go. Okay. But he's going to try to pay as much as he can to delay that process from happening. Because that's all that's happening right now. Okay. Because there was some more stuff that I wanted to get into. Because remember I said with the Two of Pentacles, it's like the tip of the iceberg. Okay. And it's going to be likely, well, Venus falls in Aries. Because what's the opposite of Aries? what is the opposite of Aries? Oh, Libra, not fall. Venus is in detriment in Aries. So I was going to say that I don't think it's going to be a woman, though, in my opinion, that is going to see this jail situation through. If to me, it feels like it's going to be a man. And the thing, this particular individual, this particular guy, who I don't think has come forward yet, because with him, and this is just where I'm spitballing of, because of him being signified by this Venus and is going into a 12th house of isolation underneath your bed pleasures, this would probably be a young man or a young individual where their life was just turned upside down. I'm trying to think of a good example, because I feel like there was a celebrity that was really storming outside. You probably can't hear that, but I can hear it. It's like going crazy. But there is, I don't remember. It gives me that energy of somebody where they pretty much, who's R. Kelly? Remember that information came out about R. Kelly, that he was making one of those young ladies dress up like a male? I'm getting the same thing from Diddy. There is a young individual, I don't know where he's at, and or they, probably would be they, because their identity, I don't feel, is actually their true identity. But to me, it screams that they were forced to change their identity, and they may have actually had to go through the full-blown identity change, unlike R. Kelly, where he just made the young lady dress up like a boy. But this one, when it comes to Diddy, this screams to me someone who would be considered transgender, but not by choice. Because remember, like I said, it's almost like in a manner, he finds healing through, for some reason, that masculinity. But it seems like he considers himself to be a healer, but he's not really a healer. He is, oh my gosh, it is really storming. He's definitely a deviant. I'm going to say definitely. He's possibly a deviant. Let me just say possibly. Okay, but there's a lot to dissect in this chart, and I'm not even looking at his natal chart. That's why I really enjoy doing these event charts, because there's so much information and so many moving parts to take into consideration, especially with Diddy. Okay, but yeah, back to the fixed star on that 15 degree. Severe trials, poetry, drama, judgment, sternness, gravity. So the thing is, he's holding firm on not doing anything wrong. And that's unfortunate. I think I read on Kanye at one point, and I was saying that there's two sides to Kanye. There's this side where it's just like, oh man, why'd you do this? You're better than this. You are, you were raised correctly. So he still has a conscience embedded within him, not this guy. You know how some people say, people, well, I mean, I've heard the thing where they say people who have a conscience, that's where karma affects those particular individuals, and people who don't have a conscience, then karma doesn't really affect them. But I think that's changing. I think because of these events that have transpired, his consciousness has started to come back, and it hasn't been there for a long period of time. So I would say that he is scared, especially with his moon being at fall in Scorpio. He is, is it like a tornado? I mean, it's just, oh my God. I keep bringing it up because I know you guys may be able to hear it, you cannot, but it's really loud. And my internet's holding strong, so that's good. But yeah, that is what he's hiding the fear though by being more like the Mercury and Aries, but I'm not buying it, because he's going through a lot of mood swings with the moon squaring Uranus and also the moon squaring Jupiter. And sadly, he still is popular, which he should not be. It's a quiet popularity. There are a lot of people, or a significant amount of people, still supporting him. And most of these people are either ones that he slept with or blackmailed, but they all coexist. People he slept with, friends, whatever. There is something that he has on them. Like, oh, you remember when you did so-and-so? Unfortunately, I caught that on camera. And, you kind of have to back me. And that actually may be why he has a politician that is protecting him, because it's blackmail. Mercury will do that. Mercury will blackmail if they have to get themselves out of mischief. It's just what it is. Okay? But there's a lot more to dissect in this chart. So this is going to stay. We're going to keep this up for later, and we'll have to go back through more about, Mercury and Venus, because we didn't get into it a lot. And also the moon squaring Uranus in the 12th house. Oh, and I was also going to say this, he has to be very careful of health issues because there could be a coma, but this seems drug-induced coma. But I also would say that you're on the books for putting people in drug-induced comas, allegedly. But we'll talk about it later. So thank you guys for coming in for episode 2 of season 2. This will have to be more than likely episode 3 because we just did not really get into the meat and the potatoes of this chart like I wanted to. But yeah, I will see you later.